Welcome to Pop Cult, where we talk reality TV, celebrity chaos, and pop culture throwbacks.
Hello everyone and welcome to Pop Cult. We're your hosts. My name is Julia.
And I'm Avery.
And we post 2 episodes every week. Tuesdays are for Reality Digest, where we cover the latest reality gossip. And Thursdays are for our Fame Files, where we go over something about pop culture history, some kind of story. Maybe it's about a celebrity, maybe it's about a certain moment in time. But yeah, that's what we're doing this week. We're doing a little Fame Files, but this one's a little different. This one is on BuzzFeed, and I'm super excited because I have no idea what it's about, really, other than BuzzFeed. And I know what BuzzFeed is, but beyond that, I have no idea what's going on.
Yes, this is a little bit of a different episode and kind of a weird one. Like, we'll see how this one performs because it is strange, but I've just been like dying to talk about this because this was truly such lore of like the mid 20 teens, like, or I guess mid to late 20 teens, like pre-COVID. This was just so dramatic, and I was obsessed with BuzzFeed, and like I would say from like 2015 on, like I was always doing the BuzzFeed quizzes, all the YouTube channels I was watching, like Try Guys, Ladylike, all those different Tasty, like all those different YouTube channels, which we're gonna talk about them. The thing that we're talking about today is around 2016, there were these videos that started coming out on YouTube from former BuzzFeed employees, and all of them were titled the exact same thing. They were all titled Why I Left BuzzFeed. And this was tea because from the outside perspective, you're seeing these YouTube videos and like all of these people seem like they're having so much fun, and like BuzzFeed literally looks like the most fun place to work. Maybe even 2 or 3 times a week, you're seeing videos come out on YouTube that you're consistently watching weekly with the same people, and then suddenly like those people just aren't part of those groups that they were a part of when they worked at BuzzFeed, and it's like, oh my god, where's my favorite Ladylike person?
Mm-hmm.
Where are the Try Guys? Like, it was just such a drastic like mass exodus from BuzzFeed during this time frame. And it's like when something like that happens, like there has to be tea. Like, you know that there has to be tea, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to do an episode on what was going on. And yeah, hopefully this is interesting because it really might not be. I just was like, I have to do this episode because that was, to me, that's a pop culture incident, you know? BuzzFeed was like in the center of pop culture.
Do you know like Miss Mojo? Like they were like a YouTube channel. I think they're BuzzFeed, but I can't remember. But it was like Watch Miss Mojo, and it would be like top 10 movies of this genre, blah 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 blah.
I don't know if that was BuzzFeed, but I know what you're talking about. But they would do stuff like that. It would be like just random little articles like your favorite rom-com characters from the 2010s that you forgot about, or like celebrity couples that you forgot dated. Like they would do a lot of stuff like that. It was like my social media.
Same. They would have like a little like Snapchat situation, and I would watch those all the time.
Oh my god, yeah, they were all over the channels. Like they really were very talented at making normal people like true internet stars because they would be consistently posting, and they're like this massive company. They're pumping out so much content every week, and like some of these people are still very much in the limelight today, a few of which we will talk about. But if a little bit of background on BuzzFeed as a company, it was founded in 2006 by their CEO, Jonah Peretti, as just a side project. It obviously took them a while to land investors, but of course they eventually did. I don't think that they really started out with the video stuff. I think mostly what they started with was like articles in like BuzzFeed news type stuff. But their first virtual meme, I thought this was funny, was that little girl who was like looking into the camera with the house on fire behind her. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh my god, yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, Julia can put it on our Instagram story when this episode comes out. But they also started out with a lot of investigative journalism and eventually launched their first YouTube channel, which was CNN BuzzFeed, and it was very millennial focused. I don't know, I couldn't find a ton about it, but I'm assuming just like millennial focused news. BuzzFeed Video, which is like a different segment of the business, was started in 2012. They then branched into things like scripted comedy series, which they put behind, initially they put them behind YouTube Red, like a paywall. And then they launched Tasty, which is still their largest video channel, where, to put it simply, they make cooking videos. They're all over Facebook. Anyone who's ever been on Facebook, you've definitely seen a Tasty video. Do you know what Tasty is?
I probably would if I saw it, but like not. I wouldn't know like that it was BuzzFeed. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
they don't really, I don't even really know if like the BuzzFeed branding is like associated with it in the videos, but that is one of their brands. Then they started with the quizzes, which were my favorite. It would be like literally like, what color paint are you? And like you
I
answer a
love
bunch of
a
questions.
BuzzFeed quiz.
So fun. I honestly need to start playing them again. That was like really good for me in that time period. Really helps me find myself. In the 2010s, YouTube was really at its height, in my opinion. Like, this was the same time as like the beauty YouTubers and like the gamer YouTubers, I feel like, kind of started becoming really prevalent around this time. But BuzzFeed specifically was pumping out content like crazy, week after week. They were personally my weekly TV shows. Like, I really cared about these channels, and I would run to the channels that I watched when they would release a new video. Like, the Try Guys and Ladylike were my favorite ones. Did you ever watch either of those?
Yes, absolutely.
They would do some crazy shit, though. Not necessarily the Try Guys or Ladylike, but just like BuzzFeed video in general. It was a lot of like clickbait stuff. Like, it was clickbait, but it also wasn't. Like, I came across a video that was literally called People Eating Animal Testicles.
Ew.
And I watched it to make sure that it wasn't clickbait, and it was not. They were literally eating animal testicles.
So
I was
gross.
scarred. But this was also one of the first videos that a Try Guys member, Keith Habersberger, was on. So, Habersberger? I think that's his last name. Keith is still a Try Guy, spoiler alert, but this is one of the first videos that he was on, I think. But all the people working at BuzzFeed were like the millennial generation. So at this time, they would have been like early to mid 20s, just coming up in their careers, aspiring producers, directors, editors, and creators. Like, you have to remember, BuzzFeed is headquartered in LA. Tons of people obviously going to LA to break into the film industry, the TV industry, just entertainment in general. And BuzzFeed was a great way to like gain all of these skills. Like, they were all wearing many different hats, and so they got experience doing a lot of things, which can be a good thing, but we come to find out at BuzzFeed it was more of like sort of an abuse of power, and there was a lot of burnout associated with it, because starting around 2016 throughout the next few years, it suddenly seemed like there was just this mass exodus from the company, from the most internet famous people, if you will, that worked there, that we all knew. Because of all the skills they had learned at BuzzFeed, they left and started their own YouTube channels, where they all subsequently made videos titled Why I Left BuzzFeed. And it was generally like, this would be like the first video that they posted on their channel. This was literally the tea of the century as far as I was concerned. Like, I was locked in whenever one of them would drop one of these videos, for the record. I don't know if anyone else was. If anyone else was, please let me know.
So it was multiple people all posting why I left BuzzFeed on their own channels? Okay.
Correct. The gist of their Why I Left videos were that they lacked creative control and ownership of the content that they had put in so much work to not only ideate, but also produce, direct, edit, post, etc. And BuzzFeed allegedly would not allow them to work on independent outside projects. So basically they had a very strict non-compete. So if they were, let's say they had a friend that was making something and wanted them to be in it or to help them with it on the weekend, their contract with BuzzFeed did not allow them to do that, which is not unusual. I work in advertising. I work on a client in the beauty space. If I were to be approached by their direct competitor in the beauty space and asked if I wanted to freelance, like, that would probably be against my contract in some way. But like, if I had, say, a side business where I was like a logo designer, like, it's highly unlikely that my company is gonna come after me for that if I'm not doing anything that's like impeding with my work there, or a direct competitor to like a client that I'm working with or something. It's just like a little bit dramatic what BuzzFeed was doing to them, and also knowing that you're hiring people who are actively trying to break into these very difficult industries. Like, it's ridiculous to ask them to turn down something that's not impacting their work at BuzzFeed. Also, BuzzFeed, of course, this is pretty standard, owns all of the intellectual property that you create while working for them. So there was a wave of people who were becoming frustrated with the fact that was getting to a point where BuzzFeed was owning their likeness at a certain point, because they were the ones not only coming
They
up
were
with the
the
concepts for
face,
these
yeah.
videos, but they were in them. In June of 2017, there were even a chunk of BuzzFeed employees who were fired over working on other projects outside of work. There were 2 employees who worked on a web series with America Ferrera, which violated their very strict contracts, and they were fired almost immediately, from what I understand. Burnout, of course, was a big conversation. Some of the more well-known groups would put out, if my memory serves me correctly, like maybe 2 videos a week, maybe even more. It's important to note that they all wore many different hats. So like, they were writing the episodes, they were producing them, directing them, they were doing all the lighting, all the editing, all the, graphics, sound effects.
Yeah. It was a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, so many responsibilities for like one maybe 10-minute video on YouTube, but like that 10-minute video probably took upwards of 40 hours to produce, and they're doing multiple of those a week, while also making sure that like the ones that they did the previous week are up and going well and concepting for future videos. It basically just really put BuzzFeed in a different light, because it really did appear as though all of these people had just had a dream job and they were having so much fun doing it and appeared to be such good friends with each other. And I actually do think that the latter is true. I do think that most of them were good friends, but it's just like, now thinking back, I'm like, it literally is depressing, because I enjoyed watching those videos so much, but now I know that they were all fighting for their lives
Yeah,
day
they
in and
were
day
like
out.
not having fun. That's sad when you like learn something like that. Like when a bubble is burst, it's sad.
I know. And I will say, once we get in, I'll talk a little bit about like specific videos and people, and they do all say, it was a great experience. Like, it was a wonderful learning opportunity while I was there, but like I just couldn't do it forever. But also, I think what's kind of funny about all of this is that because of what BuzzFeed made them do, they were experts in what it took to create viral content. So they knew what would happen when they made a video and posted it on YouTube, titling it "Why I Left BuzzFeed."
Yeah.
Which I think it's a little bit like, there's like a phrase for it, but like when you're like, when your own, I mean, not karma, but like it kind of bit BuzzFeed in the ass, the way that they trained these people.
Yeah, for sure.
The first person to ever post one of these videos was in 2016, a former BuzzFeed producer, director, and editor named Kenny Moffat. He posted the initial "Why I Left" video and like got that ball rolling. A major issue that he kind of brought to light was the idea of being a jack of all trades. Like, no employee was able to wear just one hat. They were often writing, shooting, acting, producing, and editing their videos. And he stressed that when it came to upper management, quantity over quality was the philosophy, which I do think that this kind of started to be evident. Like, I would say towards the end of all these millennials working there, I feel like the videos just kind of stopped being as good. Like the topics would be weird, or there would maybe only be like 3 or 4 people from the group in a video versus like all 6 or 7. He also explains that while he wanted to work on scripted projects, because like I said, they were doing some of that, that's not what upper management was allowing him to do. And because they also didn't allow their employees to make original content outside of BuzzFeed, it was just like, what do you want me to do? Like, you're stopping me from doing what I want to do working here, but also I can't even do it on my own time.
Do it outside.
Like, that's a little ridiculous. There should be limits to what your employer can and can't control. His video got almost over 5 million views when he posted it.
Yeah.
Right after his video, other YouTubers started making like parody or clickbait "Why I Left" videos, because this continued on because the phrase "Why I Left BuzzFeed" was so well known in the YouTube space that it became a meme basically, and a title that other creators that weren't even affiliated with BuzzFeed would use as satire or clickbait for their videos, because they knew that they would get millions of views if they titled their video with that.
Okay, I mean, I love starting a trend.
I mean, clever nonetheless, but it's just kind of funny. I don't really remember that, but I guess use your resources. The next to post, and probably the most viral, was former Ladylike breakout star in my opinion, Sophia Nygaard. She was a founding member of BuzzFeed Ladylike, which was a group of women who would try different trends or just like random things and make longer format videos about it. So Ladylike had their own channel under the BuzzFeed umbrella, And every week they would put out 2 to 3 videos of them doing something like, for example, a $17 versus $750 facial, wearing vintage bras for the day. I remember one time they even painted with their own period blood, which was foul.
What?
Yeah, that was diabolical. But they would just do like crazy things. But just, I mean, like, this was the shit that I ate up when I was in high school. Like, I loved watching these try this videos with me. The recurring cast of Ladylike was Freddie Ransom, Chantel Houston, Devin Lytle, Sophia Nygaard, Kristen Chirico, and Jen Ruggiero, I'm assuming. Sorry, Jen, I don't know how to say your last name.
Sorry, Jen.
But all of them were so iconic. Sophia was the first of the Ladylike team to leave and start her own YouTube, where she actually still makes videos in a similar vein to Ladylike. A lot of I tried this or that type content. To this day, she has over 10 million subscribers, which is unsurprising because she was definitely a fan favorite. She kind of had this like cool girl goth aesthetic. She was always wearing like black lipstick. I was obsessed with her. Like when she left BuzzFeed and started her own channel, I was like, thank God, because what am I going to do without Sophia in my day-to-day routine, you know?
Yeah.
There was, of course, speculation when she left, also because she was backfilled by another BuzzFeed employee who I mentioned in the lineup, Devin Lytle, who also ended up branching off on her own eventually, but more on her later. Sophia quit BuzzFeed in January 2017 and posted a Why I Left video in March 2017, which to this day, I looked at it while I was writing this episode. It has over 15 million views to date.
Wow. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That's insane.
I was probably 2 of those. When I watched it the first time and when I watched it a week ago.
Yeah.
She does disclaim that what she says in the video about BuzzFeed are just her opinions and are not intended to trash BuzzFeed in any way. Her main issues were independence and transparency, and she was not allowed to interact with the YouTube comments on videos. So like if somebody was commenting, like asking a question or like, you know, making a suggestion on their on in the comments of their Ladylike videos, like she couldn't respond to them. And she's like, it's so frustrating to have to produce these videos where my name is attached and my face is attached, but I'm not able to interact with the people watching them. Like that's a huge portion of building an audience, and they're being held to the standard of like, you need to be growing these YouTube channels like crazy. And she's like, a major way of doing that is being able to interact with the audience. But she also wasn't able to even like take credit for those videos because BuzzFeed owned that as intellectual property. She also says that the BuzzFeed execs were not transparent about the future of Ladylike and their goals. Like she and Freddie, who were like the lead producers, would try and be part of that big picture plan, and they worked really hard to gain that momentum to grow the channel, but they were just still being controlled from the top down and were not being included in conversations about collaborations, partnerships, and even branding. She realized that these things were not inherent to her role though, and it wasn't enough independence for her. So like she's like, I acknowledge that even though this is all upsetting because I'm the one putting in the work, I'm hired as a video producer, not as a higher up.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people feel. She also felt that her name and face were attached to something really successful, but she had no ownership. So when it came to something like potential merch, for example, not totally sure if BuzzFeed was like planning on doing merch, but just as an example, like they would have been profiting off her name and likeness outside of the video content, and she wouldn't have been able to like do anything about it.
Yeah.
She does say it is not unusual for them to own the content that she creates, but they were getting close to quote owning her name, and she wasn't okay with that.
I think that's fair.
Agreed. She even says that Freddie was in a few of her YouTube videos on her personal channel, but that quote, it doesn't look like it's going to be possible anymore for her or any other Ladylike members. So clearly BuzzFeed got wind of it and they were pissed. After Sophia, another employee who I like forgot about this girl. I feel like she wasn't in as many of the videos that I watched, but then I was literally watching a playlist of Why I Left BuzzFeed videos on YouTube, and hers came up and I was like, oh my god, I remember this girl and her blue hair and her side ponytail, and she was iconic, and her name was Candace Lowry. Her Why I Left video was released in April of 2017. She was a social strategist for Ladylike by the time she left and was in some of their videos as well. I think that's why I I knew her, but she didn't immediately come to mind when I was thinking about this episode. She actually wasn't looking to leave after her 2.5-year run at BuzzFeed, but she was recruited by the company Pop Sugar. Are you familiar?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. I don't even know if Pop Sugar is like really a thing anymore. And she notes that it felt like graduating, like leaving BuzzFeed, which this makes so much sense. It felt like graduating college. It was like extremely hard to leave, but it was time.
I can see that, especially when it's so like collaborative and stuff. We have so many like team members, yeah.
Candace says that it was tough not being allowed to collaborate on outside projects, and that BuzzFeed didn't really set up people for success when it came to them gaining online personas as a side effect of being in their BuzzFeed videos. I'm not completely sure what she means like that. I'm guessing it's just like probably like online hate and stuff.
Well, I think what she's saying is like BuzzFeed didn't really take into account that these people that they're putting on their videos every single week are gonna be like more liked and followed than maybe the video itself.
True.
I don't know if that's making sense, but like they weren't
No,
expecting
it definitely
to take like a turn in the sense that these people were watching it for the people they're seeing in the video. Like they might not click on a certain video because it doesn't have a certain BuzzFeed person in it, rather than just watching the video because it's a BuzzFeed video.
No, that's a great point. Like at a certain point, it's no longer about BuzzFeed. It's about Candace and Sophia.
Yeah.
And the Try Guys. Yeah, absolutely. If I had to guess, when Ladylike and the Try Guys both were ended, they probably lost a ton of viewership.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point. Candace even tweeted at one point. I don't know.
Twitter.
Right, literally. That just goes to show how long ago this was. And also, can I just say, I was a Twitter fiend also. BuzzFeed and Twitter were like my favorite social medias.
I was never into Twitter. I don't know what was wrong with me.
Oh my god. And honestly, a lot of people weren't, but I freaking loved Twitter. RIP Twitter. I don't know what day and specifically Candace is referencing when she tweeted this. It might have been when the Ned Fulmer scandal broke, which for anyone who has no idea what I'm talking about, it's a BuzzFeed scandal, but we'll do a separate episode on that. She tweets at one point, "Today taught me that we need a documentary about what it was like to be a BuzzFeed employee between 2014 and 2018."
Preach. Where's the documentary?
Literally, that's what I'm saying. Like, can we be in the documentary? Like, this is my formal pitch after writing this episode.
You are more than welcome to use this episode to quote in your documentary.
Absolutely. And I will produce, direct, and edit the whole thing if you want me to. If there are any BuzzFeed employees that are open to doing a documentary, I am not a videographer, but I will figure it out.
I feel like I could do it.
I feel like we could do it. Another former employee named Sam Stryker, I'm not totally sure who this is, but they tweeted, quote, "You have to understand working at BuzzFeed from 2014 to 2017 was like being part of the Suicide Squad. If you had 5... Do you know? I don't know what that means. What is a Suicide Squad?"
So the Suicide Squad is, it's like a superhero thing. And essentially, it's taking like a bunch of bad guys and putting them into and making them superheroes and putting them into a group and making them do really dangerous missions that you wouldn't make like the superheroes you don't want to die do. It's a movie.
God. Wait, that's so funny.
Yeah, it's a movie.
Oh wait,
with
it has Margot Robbie in it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
You're
Anyways,
welcome.
he continues on to say, 5 free minutes, you would get pulled into a video to try deer penis for the first time.
Ew.
Hillary. That's that eating animal testicles.
Yeah,
That's what I'm telling you. Hillary Duff glitter bombing you in the office, going undercover to nail a Hollywood predator because you were the only twink in the office.
Oh, okay.
Lol, it took a dark turn. I also don't know who he was talking about. It could be a number of people. In June of 2018, the Try Guys announced that they have officially left BuzzFeed and launched the trailer for their new channel, also called The Try Guys. Obviously, all of what I'm about to say predates Ned Fulmer's affair, because this is not about that, and that deserves its own episode. This was huge, because they really were the most successful and well-known group of people at the time on BuzzFeed. And maybe even like on YouTube, they were definitely up there, and they were really successful. So much so that, as you were saying, they had the confidence in their viewers that they would be able to leave BuzzFeed and take that viewership with them.
Yeah, because they're watching the people, not BuzzFeed. They don't care about like who produces them.
Exactly, and like somehow they got a hold of their Try Guys trademark.
Yeah, and
I
that's
don't know
where
how.
BuzzFeed like messed up. Like, good for the Try Guys, but like that's where like BuzzFeed should have thought of that.
Exactly, and maybe they paid for it. I honestly don't know. They could have bought them out.
Yeah.
I also know a major reason why they actually left was that they were contracted employees. So as their contracts were coming to an end, they were already like kind of planning to move on. So maybe that had something to do with them being able to take the Try Guys trademark. It was not until December 2nd of 2019 that their Why I Left video was released on their channel. In the video, they reveal that they left in early 2018, and that basically the main reason was that they wanted space to grow their independent careers, but also that BuzzFeed was not paying them enough.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. The story of how they started their own independent production company is really interesting, honestly, but I'm not going to get into like all the details. Maybe we'll do that on the Ned episode. But genuinely, they were so successful for many years until Ned's affair. But it is worth noting, they are still up and running. I think it's just two of them left. I think it's just Zach and Keith. And they still make videos, so I hope that the best for them. Like, they always seemed like really good guys. And also Eugene, who's not there anymore. And then, I mean, Ned, gag, throw up on the floor. But anyways, they honestly don't really give any like juicy specifics as to why they left, but it's mostly just that they weren't full-time employees and they wanted their independence so that they could work on their own company, but also any other opportunities that came to them in the meantime. Because it's like, when you put this many people of the same age range in a company like this doing the work that they were doing, and then people go out on their own, now you have like the pinnacle of all networks. Like, you have so many people to network with and so many people to like pull you into to their own projects. This is sad. I just had to put this in here. While I was watching their video talking about why they left, there's literally footage of Ned's ex-wife Ariel being pregnant and the two of them like being so happy, and it made me really sad.
That's really sad.
After just 2 weeks of launching their Try Guys channel, they already had 1 million subscribers, which is crazy. And I think they at this point they probably have around like maybe 5 to 10 million. Another one of my favorites was Michelle I think it's Carre. Sorry girl if I'm saying your last name wrong. I think it's Carre though. I think I've heard her say it. She started her YouTube channel in June of 2019, and her first video was actually titled How I Got My Job at BuzzFeed. But about a year later, she dropped her Why I Left video on her YouTube in the form of like a very dramatic movie trailer. Like, at this point, honestly, I would encourage anyone to go watch it because it's just like entertaining. It's like a 2.5 minute little trailer where she's like a superhero talking about why she left. And I just think it's funny because like these videos were so common at that point that even the BuzzFeed employees were making like spoofs of them.
Literally.
And she's like, I don't want to sit down and make the typical 10-minute long video where I'm just talking at the camera. She doesn't really spill any tea because it's obviously just like a fake movie trailer, but in the description she did say, so you want to know why I left BuzzFeed? Well, here's the truth. I will always have respect for where I came from, but some battles you have to face alone, which was like the motif of the trailer. Like, you have to face these battles alone. So it was definitely like chuggy movie tagline-esque, but her videos actually are really cool and very intense. Like, she'll do videos like I tried SWAT Academy, or like I went through Marines training or something. She's super fit, so they're fun videos and they're usually really long. She does say in the video, quote, I feel everyone's tired of seeing the Why I Left BuzzFeed videos, and that's why she approached it in a different format. But she does still post, but not as frequently, which is kind of the trend with a lot of these people. Like, they were off to an upwards start when they first started their channels after they left, and I don't really think most of them still post except for a few. One of my favorite BuzzFeed creators, I mentioned her earlier, was the late addition to Ladylike after Sophia left. And I could be misspeaking on that. She might have been in a few videos before Sophia left, but definitely I think that they brought her in because they knew that Sophia was going to be missed. Her name is Devin Lytle. I think the reason I like her so much is because she reminds me of like a hybrid between Ariana Madix and Saucy Schroeder from Vanderpump Rules. Like, as I was rewatching some of her YouTube videos for this episode, I was like, who does she remind me of?
That's funny.
And I think, isn't that funny? Like, I don't know, that's kind of the energy that she gives. She also kind of looks like them. She started her YouTube channel in October 2019 and released her Why I Left video in March of 2020. She does preface that she did not feel comfortable answering questions or commenting on Ladylike because they couldn't speak for themselves, but that she is still friends with all of them. Ultimately, she started her own channel, but she also ended up getting a new job at NBC, which was a dream job for her. And she even shouted out like the Today Show, which I thought was funny because we just did an episode on that.
Yeah, that is funny.
Go listen to it if you haven't. We had our moms on.
Yes, and it's really fun.
You know what's funny is that my mom texted me the other day. She was listening to it and she was like, is that what my voice sounds like?
My mom goes, I actually really liked my voice on there. I think I should do more podcasts. That's what she said to me.
I can't wait to tell my mom that. I'm screaming. I agree. I also think they should start a podcast.
I
I'm
agree.
trying to get everyone in our family to start a podcast because I want to be like Alex Cooper and have like a podcast production company. Like that would
Me
be
too.
so fun.
That would be so fun.
How fun would that be? But my mom goes, I need a voice intervention. That was just crazy of her. Anyways, back to Devin. I would say probably like the most tea thing she said in her video was that, quote, stuff got a little sticky with BuzzFeed, so I had to go.
I just feel like
Devin,
you could just like say the whole truth. Like, why are we?
I know. At this point, I'm going to tag these BuzzFeed creators in our Instagram reels because I want them to give us the tea. I'm dying to know. These people have no idea how much I loved watching them on YouTube. She also said she felt unstable working for a company whose success relied on internet engagement, which is totally fair.
That's fair.
YouTube is actually the second most used like search engine behind Google in the world. I do think that it has, people do still make a lot of money on YouTube, but it's just not quite at like the volume.
It's not like
of
it
people.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there are definitely still people who do, and they make a lot of money, but you kind of had to start like a long time ago. You had to get in while the iron was hot. In March of 2020, another Ladylike cast member, Chantel Houston, posted her Why I Left video on her YouTube, which she started in 2019, 2020-ish from what I can tell. She only has like 5 videos. I don't think she stuck with it, and I couldn't really like find what she's up to now. But she tweeted in December of 2019 actually announcing her leaving BuzzFeed. She said, also, now is when I tell you that I left BuzzFeed in October to pursue more of my own goals. I love Ladylike, and I did not leave because of any rift between us. They are all amazing. I left for many other reasons. I'm super excited to take a leap and start this new chapter. So I think it was like when all the Ladylike members started leaving, of course, people's first assumption was like, oh my God, the girls must be fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, I'm guilty of too. I definitely probably
that
thought
would
the
be
same
my
thing.
assumption. Yeah.
Chantel said that she left because she wanted to focus on creating stuff without her contractual obligations to BuzzFeed, that she wanted to work on different things. Also, like, you know, she was like, I just didn't have I wanted to be able to work on things without having the constraint of a 9-to-5, which preach, girl. I mean, wouldn't we all? She does touch on what was going on with Ladylike at this point with many people leaving, but she says that it just isn't the right time because they, quote, can't talk about it yet. I don't know if they were under like an NDA that said that they couldn't talk about it for a certain period of time after.
Maybe.
But the speculation, which I had forgotten about this, there was speculation that Ladylike was trying to negotiate with BuzzFeed to buy the rights to the Ladylike brand, but they ultimately weren't able to.
Why weren't they able to? Like, how expensive would that have been?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know if it would have been so much the cost as it would have been more so BuzzFeed wanting to give it to them. But like basically they were trying to do what the Try Guys did.
Yeah, and I guess BuzzFeed just wasn't gonna do that a second time.
Yeah, fair enough. Like truly, what you were saying. Like, I mean, I hate it because I loved Ladylike and I would have loved to see them go out on their own. But yeah, they probably learned their lesson on that one. Chantel does say that while she misses her Ladylike co-stars, that she does not miss BuzzFeed, as she was there for 5.5 years, which as like a first, I would assume this was probably like her first, if not one of her first jobs. That's a long time to be at.
That is a very long
company.
time, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, especially when you're that young and living in LA. For a while after all this happened, Chantel, Devin, and Freddie actually hosted a podcast together called Money Honeys. I looked into it to see if they like still do episodes. Their last episode was in March of 2025, so I don't know what happened with all that. But I do love that they kept doing that together. Warms my heart. This next one gets a little intense. In December of 2020, 2 more Ladylike cast members, Sin, Shariko, and Jen, who I don't know how to say her last name, dropped their Why We Left video on their new joint YouTube channel that they started together just a couple of months earlier in October of 2020. It is titled The Kitchen and Jorn Show, which is like their nicknames for each other when they were on Ladylike, so they just like took that over. This video is very long. I listened to it on 2x speed. All of these videos are just kind of like, it just almost seems like it's satire at this point. Like, why are there so many people making these videos, you know? That's why I wanted to do an episode on it, because I just feel like we don't talk about the BuzzFeed mass exodus enough, honestly, for my taste. Like, I need more people to be asking and talking about this. Nonetheless, they do note at the top of their video that when people would post these videos, that those who it would actually affect most were the people at BuzzFeed at the bottom and mid-level roles and not the people at the top. And so the best way to support anyone still working there is to watch and interact with their videos and socials. So I think at this point, but by 2020, there had been so many of these videos over like 4 years by this time that people were like, oh my God, we should we should boycott BuzzFeed because clearly they don't treat their employees well.
Yeah.
But not everybody is as fortunate as Ladylike and the Try Guys to be able to have that audience follow them out of that job. So still support them because that's still their livelihood, which I do get. I think sometimes people take the internet campaigns a little bit far when it comes to things like this. Kristen says that it was really hard to leave because of the friendships that she had made there, but they also say that they had them on 2 to 3 videos per week, and it felt like they could never reach success because it felt like the goalposts just kept moving. Kristen even says that she experienced suicidal ideation at one point. They mentioned a layoff that happened in 2019, and they said it was very disruptive to the work, but also the morale and company culture. But it also made them feel like they just had to work harder and be grateful for their jobs because there were people that had just lost their jobs. They were also working on getting another show up and running. It was called the Empty Suitcase Show, which was like a series on Ladylike. And while they were doing this, they were still working on Ladylike full time. During the filming this new show, Kristen started having panic attacks literally in between takes of filming and basically became agoraphobic. She says that there was no one ensuring that their employees were okay and that they, quote, let me hurt myself. She says that she, quote, literally had to quit to save her life.
Well, that's terrifying.
I know. And just like, it's just so not that deep, you know? Jen was, as for her experience, she was hired at BuzzFeed at 21 years old, and she says that her excitement and youthfulness started to fade. She says that they were always working harder, but it was just to no avail, and it felt like there was no point to the work that they were creating, and like the mentality of, quote, if I had just done more, it would have been fine, but like it could never just be fine. She does say that the specific reason she left, she cannot talk about, but she
Then
always
why
felt
make
guilty.
The video?
Julia's pissed.
Like what?
I'm dead. She says that she felt guilty for not feeling grateful for a full-time job with insurance and steady pay, but that leadership noticed that the Ladylike content wasn't doing as well but it was because they were so burnt out. They also both felt that the company was gaining clout for having a very diverse staff, and they just felt icky about that. And Jen also said that towards the end, she was having suicidal ideation and was also extremely depressed. They closed the video with saying that they no longer want to talk about BuzzFeed and why they left again, but that they did have good experiences and learned a lot, and that they did still have friends that they want the BuzzFeed audience to support. A day after Kristen and Jen's Why I Left video, Kristen tweeted, "If nothing else, I hope that someone rings the alarm over at BuzzFeed when you have employees who are putting personal things on camera for company profits that they don't own and don't get residuals from. You have a duty of care to the mental well-being of those people." After Kristen and Jen left, Freddie Ransom from Ladylike was in a video with Kristen and Jen in March of 2022, where she says that she still do some contract work with BuzzFeed, but was pursuing other avenues like voice acting and other types of creative projects. By 2022, Freddie was the only Ladylike cast member left at BuzzFeed.
Wow.
I know, tragic. The women genuinely did continue to be friends, and for those that still make videos on YouTube, they continue to appear in each other's videos. At BuzzFeed's height, Ladylike was one of the most popular series. They had upwards of 3.25 million subscribers. And now I'm wondering, do we do a deep dive on the Ladylike girls? Like, would anyone care about that? Let me know.
I would. Like them
Okay.
as like them in the Ladylike thing or them post Ladylike.
Both.
Yeah.
Like about their lives and stuff. Maybe I'll try and tag one of them and see if they would be okay with that. Ladylike stopped producing content in 2020, with their last video being an installment of the Empty Suitcase Show that I mentioned Kristen and Jen were working on. And then I wanted to save this one for last because I believe that she is perhaps the most famous BuzzFeed alum out there and also has a Why I Left video. Quinta Brunson.
I love her.
Yes. I love Quinta too. She's so funny, so talented. Her Why I Left video was actually posted on the BuzzFeed video YouTube channel in June of 2021.
What?
Yeah, I know. Crazy. She got her foot in the door at BuzzFeed by participating in a taste test video and then was eventually hired full time. She was in several like comedy series skit type videos, but would kind of continue to work with like multiple separate groups creating this type of content. She said that she realized it was her time to leave when she realized that her ambitions were conflicting with her 9-to-5 work schedule, and she felt like it was similar to when the time comes to graduate college, just like Candace said, and that she actually did not have any negative experiences working at BuzzFeed. So it seems to be, you know, a spectrum, which is with any company, like, just for the record. This is not like a BuzzFeed slander tour. Since leaving, she has written on several shows, voiced on the show Big Mouth, and obviously we know that she wrote and sold Abbott Elementary to ABC, which she also stars in and is a very successful show. She also has written a book. I think Quinta is probably BuzzFeed's most successful former employee.
Sounds like it, yeah.
100%. She is now an Emmy award-winning actress and writer, all from Abbott Elementary. She also hosted SNL in 2023 and was in a film with Daniel Radcliffe.
What movie were they in?
I don't know. In terms of what some of the other BuzzFeed peeps are up to, in September of 2022, Ned Fulmer's cheating scandal broke the YouTube side of the internet, and it sparked a convo about the toxic culture at BuzzFeed. Obviously, we know that Ned disappeared after his cheating scandal until very recently. What's left of the Try Guys, Zach Kornfeld and Keith Habersberger, still work together and post on YouTube regularly. Their fourth member, Eugene, has been working on personal creative projects as well as his drag persona, which I thought was a fun little tidbit. He was an icon on that channel, and so fabulous. And his face and the video that the Try Guys posted when Ned's scandal broke was absolutely iconic. Like, I can't wait to do an episode on that because there's just so much to say. I did actually listen to a podcast episode with Zach and Keith where they talk a little bit about their BuzzFeed experience. This was like really not that long ago, like maybe a few months ago. Like, it was definitely in 2025. And they said that when they still worked at BuzzFeed, and a Why I Left video dropped, sometimes they would be like, yeah, stick it to the man. And sometimes they would be like, wait, that's literally not true. You just weren't good at your job.
I'm sure there are some.
So I thought that was like,
yeah.
I thought that was funny context. They also said that they fired people who were in a background of a music video and others who participated in a web series over a weekend, which I'm assuming is that series that I mentioned earlier. So it was just like cutthroat. But some of those people were people who made Why I Left videos. So yeah. And that rounds out our recap of the BuzzFeed controversy of the 20 teens.
I'm still stuck on Quinta doing a Why I Left video on the BuzzFeed channel.
I know.
That doesn't make any sense.
I honestly think that just goes to show how, like, what a phenomenon these videos were. That even BuzzFeed was, like, in on the joke.
Okay. I feel like that's just making BuzzFeed look bad, but okay.
I totally agree with you. But everyone let us know if you want us to do a video on Ladylike. I'm definitely going to tag them because I love them and I still think they're really cool. And we're definitely going to do an episode on Ned's cheating scandal now that he's back making a podcast, apparently.
God, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And if anyone has any topics that they want us to cover, leave them in the comments or DM us on our social medias. They're in the episode description. And we'll see you on Tuesday for another installment of Reality Digest.
Guys, I need you to go forth and gossip, because how else does the world go around?
How else would we have gotten BuzzFeed Why I Left videos for 4 years straight?
Literally, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's how we keep moving. That's how we have hope in the world.
Literally. Bring back YouTube. That's all I'm going to say.
For real.
TTYL.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week for more pop culture chaos. The stories we cover are based on research and publicly available sources. While we strive for accuracy, some details may be disputed or unverified, and this episode is for entertainment and informational purposes only.